Family called my wife a harlot for having a child. At 17, they said she's embarrassing and are now demanding I attend the Christmas Eve party alone to impress their pastor while refusing to acknowledge her as my wife or my child as family. I honestly can't believe I'm even typing this out. I've held my tongue with my family for years trying to keep the peace, but this latest stunt has me feeling like I've hit the wall. I'm 26, married to my high school girlfriend. She's 24, and we've been together since we were kids. She got pregnant at 17, and we had our daughter right after we graduated. We stayed together, figured life out the hard way, and now we're actually doing okay. Not rich, not perfect, but happy. And my daughter is my whole world. My family, though especially my parents and older siblings, never really accepted her. Back when she got pregnant, they were the kind of people who treated it like the biggest scandal in the world. My mom called it a disgrace. My dad said I ruined my life. One of my sisters literally said my wife was a harlot and told me I was being manipulated by a girl who wanted to trap me. I was 18. Nobody cared how I felt or what I wanted. It was all about how they looked to the church or the neighbors. For a while I tried to defend her, but I was also young and overwhelmed, and I honestly thought that over time they'd calm down and come around. They never did. We got married when our daughter was 3, and not one of them came to the wedding. I sent out invites. I tried. I even visited them with my daughter a few times after, but they never called her by name, just the child or that baby. If that sounds crazy to you, trust me, it felt insane to me too. But when you grow up getting guilt-tripped into being the good son, you start second-guessing your own reactions. Fast forward to now. My parents are hosting this big Christmas Eve party, one of those extended family events they throw to make themselves look like the perfect Christian couple. My dad's been trying to climb the ladder at church lately, and their new pastor is supposed to be coming to this thing. They called me a few days ago, sounding all excited, telling me how important the party was going to be. Then came the kicker. They said they want me to come alone. When I asked what they meant, they straight up said it would be easier on everyone if I came without my wife or daughter, that it would avoid questions and help reframe things. They basically want to pretend my whole family doesn't exist because they're still embarrassed she got pregnant at 17. They said it would be better for their image if I didn't bring baggage to the event. Their word, not mine. I lost it. I didn't scream or anything, but I told them flat out that I wasn't going anywhere my wife and child weren't welcome. My mom said I was being difficult and that I needed to think about the bigger picture. My dad said this was about optics and leadership, not personal feelings. I asked them if they even realize how hurtful and disgusting it is to talk like that about their own family. My mom told me I was letting her corrupt my heart. My own father said I'm blinded by lust and pride. I'm married to this woman. I've been raising our daughter since the minute she was born. And they still act like she's some dirty concubine I'm supposed to hide so they can keep playing pretend. I haven't told my wife yet. I don't know how. She already carries so much guilt over how everything played out back then, even though she shouldn't. She's done nothing but love me and our daughter, and try to be a decent person through it all. She never talks badly about my family, even though she'd have every right to. I know if I tell her what they said, it's going to crush her, and part of me just doesn't want to give them that power again. I've always told myself I needed to keep the door open, that cutting off my family would be too final, that maybe someday they'd change, and I didn't want to burn the bridge. But now I'm starting to feel like maybe that bridge should have been burned a long time ago. Because it's one thing to disagree with a decision I made when I was 18. It's another thing to actively erase my wife and child from my life for the sake of impressing a damn pastor. I'm not looking for advice on whether I should go or not. I've already decided I'm not going. What I am struggling with is whether this should be the end of it, like full-on no contact. Part of me still feels guilty, even after everything, but the rest of me feels like if I don't draw the line here, they're going to keep pushing it until my daughter's old enough to realize they've never once treated her like she's family. I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm tired. I've spent too many years trying to earn respect from people who treat the two people I love most like garbage. I can't do it anymore. If you've ever gone no contact with family over stuff like this, did it actually help? Did it feel like a relief or just more loss? I don't know what I'm doing anymore. All I know is I'm not showing up to smile for a crowd of people who want to pretend my wife and daughter don't exist. Update 1. So I went ahead and told them. I texted both of my parents, separately and directly, and said that I wasn't going to the Christmas Eve party. I kept it short. I said if my wife and daughter weren't welcome, I wasn't coming either. That was it. I didn't yell, I didn't rant, I just drew a clear line. My mom didn't respond at first, then she called me 3 hours later crying, full dramatic sobbing, asking me how I could do this to the family and make a scene during the holidays. I didn't even get a full sentence out before she said something about me choosing a mistake over everything we've built. I told her she didn't get to play victim when she was the one setting terms. She hung up on me. My dad followed up with a text the next morning, not even trying to hide the condescension. He said, "I've become weak under her spell, and that I'm letting shameful decisions define the rest of my life." He told me to think long and hard about what kind of example I'm setting for my daughter by rejecting her grandparents just because they hold higher standards. It spiraled after that. My older brother, the one who's always tried to play middleman while still sucking up to my parents, chimed in through the group chat, said I was tearing the family apart over pride, and that I should at least show up out of respect. He didn't mention my wife once, not once. My sister said I was embarrassing the entire family, and that this was the kind of drama no one wants to deal with right before the holidays. She ended her message with, "If you want to play the martyr, go ahead, but don't expect us to play along." They really do think I'm the one causing problems because I won't show up and smile for the camera while they pretend my wife doesn't exist. None of them have asked how she's doing. None of them care about the fact that she's been excluded from the very beginning. And my daughter? Still not mentioned. They act like she's some kind of side note or footnote in my life, like I should be grateful they tolerate my situation. I wasn't even going to say anything to my wife about it. I didn't want to drag her into it. But then she heard one of the voicemails my mom left while I was in the shower. She didn't say anything at first, just sat really still and quiet, then asked me straight up if I thought she was ruining my life. That one broke me a little, because this woman has stuck by me through everything. We were broke together. We raised our daughter through sheer stubbornness and love. And she has put up with years of subtle, and not so subtle, rejection from people who should have been grateful I found someone so strong and grounded. But they've always made her feel like she was something to be ashamed of. And now she's internalized it so deeply that she thinks she's the problem. She cried that night, not loud, not messy, just laid there in bed and let the tears roll while I held her. Our daughter came in the room later, asking if Grandma was mad at Mommy again, and I didn't even know what to say. What are you supposed to say when your kid can sense that kind of hate? This isn't just about a party anymore. This is about the fact that I've spent years walking on eggshells so I wouldn't lose my family, but it turns out they were never really willing to accept mine. I thought maybe if I kept showing up, if I stayed civil, they'd eventually soften. I thought time would do the work, but time doesn't fix people who think they're right about everything. What's really pissing me off now is how coordinated they're being about making me feel like the villain. The guilt messages haven't stopped. My mom sent one today talking about how I was raised better than this, and how I should know that real men don't let their households cause division. My dad said I was being dramatic. My brother sent a picture of the party setup and said, "Still a seat here if you change your mind." Like they're trying to prove they're still the reasonable ones and I'm the one acting out. The mental gymnastics they do to avoid admitting how wrong they've been is honestly impressive. They say I'm being prideful, but it's not pride. It's just finally realizing that protecting my wife and daughter from their toxicity matters more than being included in a family that clearly doesn't want them. What's funny is that one of my cousins DM'd me privately. She saw some of the messages and said she was proud of me for standing up. She told me she hasn't gone to a family function in 2 years because she got tired of pretending everything was normal. Apparently, there's more quiet resentment in the family than I realized. She even said some of the older relatives have been talking trash about me and my situation behind my back for years. So I guess this was always going to happen eventually. Maybe I just finally pulled the curtain back. I don't regret saying no. I don't regret standing up for my wife. I just wish it didn't feel so much like mourning something that wasn't even real to begin with, because the version of family I've been trying to keep alive clearly only existed in my head. The one they're offering me now, the one that excludes my daughter, shames my wife, and expects me to fall in line for appearances. I don't want it. I'm not going. That's final. I've told them to stop contacting me about the party. I'll see what they do next. But at this point, I'm starting to think this might be the end of whatever relationship we had left. I still don't know how to explain all this to my daughter in a way that makes sense, but I do know I'm not letting her grow up around people who treat her like she's less than. Update 2. So I guess we've moved from guilt tripping to full-on ambush now. A few days after I told them I wasn't coming to the party, and after all the texts and voicemails calling me ungrateful, my parents decided to show up at my house unannounced. I was out back doing some stuff in the shed when they pulled up. My wife answered the door, and I didn't even know they were there until I heard her call my name with that tone, the one that says she's trying not to lose it in front of people. I walked in and saw them standing in our doorway with this ridiculous oversized gift basket. You know, the kind overpriced crackers, cookies nobody eats, a bottle of wine I wouldn't touch, all wrapped in cellophane like that somehow makes it thoughtful. My name was written on a little tag, and only mine. My mom launched right in, said they just wanted to talk before the party and see if there was any chance I'd come to my senses. They weren't even subtle about it. They said they were willing to overlook things if I showed up alone, that it would send the right message and that I'd be showing spiritual maturity. My wife was standing right there and they didn't even make eye contact with her. My dad asked if we could talk privately. I said no. They started on this whole thing about how the church community has certain expectations, how they've worked really hard to get where they are socially, and how my decisions are muddying the testimony. I told them to stop. I reminded them again that if my wife and daughter aren't welcome, I'm not coming. That's when my mom, I swear to God, turned and said something like, "One day your daughter will understand that we were trying to save her father from a lifetime of shame." And she said it like she really believed that was noble. Like alienating a 7-year-old girl because you think her mom wasn't good enough for your church friends somehow makes you a martyr. I told them to leave. My wife wasn't saying anything by that point, just standing there like she was frozen. Then our daughter came around the corner, probably wondering what the noise was. She walked right up to them and said hi. My mom barely even acknowledged her, just kind of did this tight smile and stepped back like she was avoiding a dog that jumped. My daughter noticed it. I saw her face change. Then my mom, still holding that damn gift basket, said to me, "I hope you grow up and realize what we tried to do for you." I asked them one last time to leave. They set the basket down and walked out without another word. No apology. No eye contact with my wife or daughter. Nothing. After they left, my wife just sat down on the stairs and stared at the wall. I took the basket, dropped it in the outside bin, and didn't say anything right away. I didn't want to push her. But she looked up after a while and asked if I hated her family or mine more right now. Then she said maybe she was the problem. That maybe if she'd just stayed quiet from the start, none of this would have escalated. She said she didn't want to be the reason I lost everyone, and I get it. I get where her head's at. It's been 7 years of trying to be tolerated by people who've made it clear she's not welcome. That wears you down. But hearing her blame herself for their cruelty, it made something in me snap. I told her this wasn't on her, that I'm not losing anything worth keeping if this is what it takes to stay in their orbit. But the truth is, I think some part of me does hate them now. I hate that they made her feel like an outsider in her own life. I hate that they've never even called our daughter by name. I hate that they show up with fake gifts and delusions about saving me, while treating my family like garbage. I don't resent my wife. I resent them for making her feel like she's always apologizing for existing. Our daughter hasn't brought it up again, but I know she felt that moment. She's not clueless. She's starting to understand what it means when people pretend not to see her. And that pisses me off more than anything, that this isn't just about the party, or the church, or the drama anymore. It's about the message they're sending a kid who's done absolutely nothing wrong. A few people on Reddit told me to cut contact entirely. I haven't decided yet, but I'm close. I've already told them not to come by again, and if they text about the party again, I'm blocking them. One of my cousins texted me again after the visit and said, "This has gone too far. You need to be the bigger person." I didn't respond. I'm tired of being the bigger person. I've been swallowing crap for years to keep the peace, and all it's done is cost me more. This might actually be the end of the road with them. I'm realizing now that the only reason I kept trying for so long was because I thought one day they'd come around. But they won't. And at this point, I don't want them to. Not if the cost is making my wife feel small. Not if my daughter grows up thinking that love is something you earn by being good enough for other people's standards. I'm choosing my wife and my kid, again, loudly, publicly, if it comes to that. They want to show for their pastor? Fine. But it won't include me. Update 3. I honestly thought they'd hit rock bottom with the surprise visit and the basket stunt. I was wrong. My younger brother, the only one who stayed neutral in all this, called me the other night and told me something that made my blood run cold. Apparently, my parents and a few of my extended family are planning to bring my ex-girlfriend to the Christmas Eve party, not as just another guest. They're planning to introduce her around as the real love of my life. They've even been floating some old photos from when we were dating in high school, talking about how different and happy I looked back then. It's not subtle, it's calculated. It's a setup to rewrite the story they're ashamed of. Instead of owning that their son married a girl they treated like dirt because she got pregnant at 17, they want to spin some picture-perfect version of what should have happened. I guess they think they can clean their image in front of their pastor by pretending my wife never existed and my daughter's just some glitch in the narrative. One of my uncles apparently joked that I wasn't thinking clearly when I married that girl, and that maybe God's finally giving the family another chance. My brother didn't want to repeat everything, but said he felt like I needed to know because it was going too far. He's right, it has. I sat on the information for about 24 hours. I didn't tell my wife immediately, not because I wanted to hide it, but because I needed to calm down before I talked to her. I knew how she was going to take it, and I was right. When I finally told her, she didn't yell, she didn't cry, she just went quiet. She sat down on the couch and asked me not to bring any of it up again, said she didn't want me fighting with them anymore, that it wasn't worth it, that she wanted nothing from them, and she meant it. I could see it on her face, this kind of exhaustion that's just been building for years. She's done hoping they'll change, done thinking one good gesture might balance out everything else. Done watching me walk away from conversations with clenched fists and fake smiles. And that's when I knew I was done too. I've held back a lot over the years, bit my tongue, tried to smooth things over, made excuses even when I hated myself for it. I told myself I was doing it for peace, but there's no peace in letting people walk all over your family and pretending it's okay. So I wrote a letter. It wasn't poetic. It wasn't emotional. It was a list. A list of every moment they disrespected my wife and daughter. Every time they referred to my child as that girl. Every dinner where my wife was iced out. Every birthday skipped. Every backhanded comment. Every time they told me I was throwing my life away. I listed it all. 7 years of small slights and big insults. 7 years of pretending they were trying when they weren't. 7 years of fake civility for the sake of reputation. And I ended it by telling them this: I'm done protecting your image. You don't get to rewrite the story because the truth makes you uncomfortable. If you're embarrassed by the life I chose, maybe that says more about the kind of people you've become than the kind of man I am. I sent it to the entire family. Parents, siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, all of them. Then I posted the letter on Facebook, tagged them, and turned off comments. Let them sit with it. The fallout came fast. A few extended family messaged me privately, some shocked, some defensive. One of my cousins told me I was airing dirty laundry and being vindictive. Another thanked me, said it made her realize how much of the same stuff she'd put up with for years. My uncle, the same one who made the "wasn't thinking clearly" joke, tried calling me 3 times before I blocked his number. My parents haven't responded. My sister sent me a paragraph about respecting elders and how I should have handled this in private. I didn't reply, but my wife, she read it. She didn't say much at first, just sat with the screen for a while. Then she looked at me and asked if I really meant it, if I was actually done trying with them. I told her yeah, I was, for good. She nodded, said thank you, and went to check on our daughter. A few hours later, I found her in our room crying. Not the broken kind of cry, just quiet. Relieved maybe. I haven't seen her breathe like that in years. What this family tried to pull with the party with the ex, the erasing, the performance, it crossed a line I can't uncross. This wasn't just rude or controlling. It was a direct attempt to rewrite our life, to present a version of me that never married her, never had our kid, never built what we built. And I'm not playing along with that. They want the pastor to see me as someone I'm not. They want the community to think we're some clean, untouched legacy family where the only mistakes are the ones they can sweep under the rug. But I'm not going to let them act like my wife and daughter are mistakes. Ever. Christmas is coming up in a few days. We've made other plans. I'll update after. But I want to be clear on this. Whatever's left of my relationship with my parents, if you can even call it that, is just a formality at this point. A technicality. The only family I care about is the one in this house. And they know that now. Loud and clear. Final update. We spent Christmas morning on a quiet stretch of beach with no one around but the three of us. My daughter buried her feet in the sand, kept laughing every time a wave chased her up the shore, and told us about a dozen times that it was the best day of her life. I didn't check my phone once. We left the day before Christmas Eve. No announcements, no messages. Just packed up the car and drove down the coast. I booked a place with a little kitchen, a fold-out couch, and a balcony overlooking the ocean. It wasn't expensive, it wasn't fancy, but it was ours. And it was the first time in a long time I felt like I could actually breathe. The morning we left, I opened our family group chat one last time. I didn't scroll, I didn't respond, I just deleted it. Then I blocked my parents, siblings, and the two aunts who had chimed in last minute about me taking things too far and bringing shame on the family. I didn't reply to any of them. I didn't need to. Whatever they were planning to do with that party, the whole thing with the ex, the photos, the narrative spinning for their pastor, I don't care how it played out. Maybe it went ahead without me. Maybe they told the story they wanted to tell, but they did it without me, and they'll do the rest of their lives that way too. I'm out. A cousin tried messaging me through Instagram to say I didn't need to go scorched earth. Another one sent me a long message about how family's still family, and how I should have just handled things offline. Apparently, posting the letter was the real problem, not 7 years of ignoring my kid and trashing my wife every chance they got. I didn't answer either of them. I'm not doing the guilt dance anymore. My wife kept asking if I was sure, not in a pleading way, just quiet check-ins. She's used to people walking things back. Used to being told it's better to keep the peace, even if it means swallowing every insult and smiling while doing it. But this time, she saw I wasn't backing down. I told her we weren't going back to a table where she was only tolerated when she stayed silent, and our daughter was treated like a reminder of something shameful. She nodded, but she didn't say much after that, not until the night of Christmas Eve. We had just eaten dinner, nothing elaborate, just pasta and garlic bread, and we were watching some old holiday movie with the volume too low because our daughter had fallen asleep against her. My wife reached for my hand and just said, "Thank you." And then she cried, not like the other times, not broken, not anxious, just relief. I think it hit her that she didn't have to be on guard anymore, that I wasn't just defending her, I was done letting anyone treat her like she needed defending in the first place. She's my wife. That's the whole story. Anyone who can't deal with that doesn't belong in our lives. The next morning, my daughter handed me a Christmas card she made at preschool. It had stick figures of the three of us, a bunch of squiggles for waves, and the words, "Thank you for choosing us, Daddy." I think that's when it really landed. I didn't lose a family. I built one where no one has to beg to be seen, or be invited with conditions, or pretend they're not hurt just to keep things smooth. I'm done shrinking myself down just to be tolerated in a house that never had space for who I really am. This whole thing started because they didn't want my wife or daughter ruining their Christmas. But we didn't ruin anything. We just gave them the gift of honesty. They chose to spit it back. That's on them. I'm not angry anymore. That's the part that surprised me. I thought I'd still feel that simmering rage every time their names came up, but now it's just quiet. I don't care if they talk about me. I don't care what the pastor thinks. I don't care what story they tell. They don't know me. They haven't for a long time. Maybe they never did. We're staying out here a few more days before heading home. It's quiet, warm, and honest. And my daughter hasn't asked once why we didn't see Grandma or Grandpa. She doesn't feel the absence because they were never really there to begin with. And I'm okay with that. We're okay. Actually better than okay. We're free. Edit. Thanks for all the support. Genuinely didn't expect this much encouragement. A few people asked if I regret cutting them off completely. No, I don't. Not even a little. The peace I feel now is something I didn't realize I was missing until I had it. My wife's finally sleeping without tension in her face. My daughter hasn't once asked about them. We made gingerbread cookies, played board games, and sat by the ocean watching the sun go down. It was simple. It was enough. To those DMing me about airing family business, if protecting my wife and kid means losing people who never respected them in the first place, I'll take that trade every time. And for anyone stuck in the same cycle, guilt-tripped, silenced, told to keep the peace while they twist the knife, you don't owe them your presence. Family isn't who shares your blood. It's who shows up, respects your boundaries, and loves the people you love. Don't wait for them to change. Sometimes healing starts the moment you stop hoping. I honestly regret acting so late, and I do feel really dumb as a lot of people pointed to no contact. I know now that I don't have to keep proving my worth to them.